It really depends whether this is actually the Wagner boss or somebody traveling under the name of Yevgeny Prigozhin, because we know that Prigozhin used aliases, or rather people who assumed his name in order to travel, as part of his security measures, in order to obfuscate his travel plans and to conceal where he actually was. And of course, this is somebody who took his personal security very seriously, even before he made himself a marked man by marching on Moscow this year. So let's not be completely surprised until it's absolutely 100% confirmed if Yevgeny Prigozhin, the real Wagner boss, doesn't actually pop up somewhere else. First of all, it will not come as a surprise if Yevgeny Prigozhin, the boss of Wagner, has now finally been dealt with by the Russian state. It was more of a surprise that he was allowed to survive for so long after mounting this challenge to Moscow by taking his men and marching on the Kremlin, looking for a reckoning with the Ministry of Defense. However, he will have known since then that there was a target on his back, and President Putin needed to set an example. You cannot have Yevgeny Prigozhin setting a dangerous precedent by mounting a mutiny and actually surviving it. This will have given other people ideas. Now, those other people who've been watching what has happened, seeing this very theatrical, spectacular way of dealing with Prigozhin, will have drawn the appropriate conclusions, and they will have adjusted their own risk calculus to suit. As for the rank and file of Wagner, they were already in a precarious position. After the mutiny in June, the Russian armed forces tried to integrate them into the army, which some of them resisted. They also tried to pack them off to Belarus, which seems to have been a half-hearted exercise that hasn't succeeded, partly because Belarus was not fully on board with it in the first place. So they will be left in limbo already, even before the death of their leader. And so Russia will have to deal with a large number of formerly quite well-armed and really quite discontented people that it somehow has to pacify and ensure that they don't pose any ongoing security threat, because they will be even more upset now that their leader has been dealt with. It's very unclear just why and how Prigozhin felt that he was protected. It's clear that he did have protection from some senior level in the Kremlin, if not President Putin, then somebody equally capable of making sure that he led a charmed life. Because after all, let's not forget, even before his mutiny, he was criticizing and attacking the Ministry of Defense in terms which would have got anybody else dealt with far earlier. He was, in fact, even kidnapping and abusing senior military officers and recording taped confessions from them of offending his own Wagner people. Now, that meant that he had some form of protection in the Kremlin, and he may have felt that that protection was actually still keeping him alive. If that's the case, he was probably wrong. We'll probably never know what actually happened to this aircraft. Sorry, let me start that one again. We'll probably never know what actually happened to this aircraft. Even if it had not been such a politically charged event, the chances of there being a transparent and a rigorous and a reliable investigation in Russia were fairly slim. But because this is such a high-profile event, there is no chance at all that we'll ever get the true story.